Welcome into the Vegas Young Show. I'm Mike Young. My guest today, Murray SawChuck. Also, I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm excited to be here.
You just flew in from your hometown, right?
I did. Vancouver, Canada. Saw Mom for a few days and just kind of hung out with her and had a mini vacation, you know. So.
Yeah. Ran into an old friend I saw online.
Yeah, my first friend. Like, how many people know their first friend? I don't mean best friend. I don't mean like we met each other like at 11 months old.
Yeah.
Because our parents lived on the same street and our birthdays are only 3 weeks apart. And so it's just a convenience thing, you know. And we stayed friends till I was like 15 or 16. And then we did our own things. But, you know, with Facebook and all that. And I was like, oh my God, what happened? You know,
Yeah.
because he was a friend that I just got into the magic world with. Where I got my magic kit and him and I would do tricks together because it was somebody to share that with. And we probably one of the first people I ever did a magic trick to. And then I never talked to him for like 20, 30 years. And so I reached out, found him. I said, hey, man, how you doing? And it's great. He says, you want to do coffee? I said, I'm back. He said, my God, I'd love to. I said, you know. So we sat and caught up. And he hadn't changed a bit. You know what I mean? Neither of
Kind
us
of picked up right where you left off.
Yeah. And just, you know, sounds the same. Everything, like, you know. So some people change drastically where you can't even recognize them.
Sure.
But he was phenomenal. Yeah. So it was nice catching up. And I think it's important to know where you came from, you know. So it's a good thing.
Speaking of which, I'm fascinated by the fact that you come from a background where your whole family for generations were railway workers.
Yes, yeah, over 150 years. Everyone worked in the railway. A very blue collar,
Yeah.
honest job, you know, government job, you know, to a degree, you know. And yeah, they worked for the CN Rail, Canadian National Railway. And my dad had the opportunity to be a professional baseball player for the Vancouver Canadians, which is a baseball team up there. And be a musician. He caught one record way back in the day as well. He was very talented. He just had this knack for everything he touched. He just was good at it. He just had this creativity. But his dad always said, you know, if you want to make an honest living, have a steady job, have a family, go get a real job. You know, he didn't want to really go against his dad. And so as soon as he graduated at 18 years old, he started working on the steam engines, you know, shoveling coal into the actual steam engines, fixing them, lubing the joints up, you know. And he worked his way all the way up to working in the big city of Vancouver, which is a big city. And he got to do what he loved doing for 37 years, you know what I mean? So, but he could have been a baseball player and could have been a very successful musician, you know, but he
My grandfather, Jesse James Smith, worked for the Santa Fe Railroad for many, many years and was, you know, he was an earthy guy.
Yeah, it's a famous
chewed tobacco. He was a guy
real
who worked in
man's
his yard, you know.
Yeah.
So I wonder what happened to us.
I know, right?
Why did we decide that
I
wasn't
know.
for us? I should be a truck driver or something like that.
I think it's because I went and took a risk and I went for it, even though my parents were very supportive. Dad was always like, you know, you may want to get that security job with the pension plan and everything. I said, I know, Dad. But I was starting to make money off magic when I was 13. So I saw potential right away. And I was making more money than I'd ever make, whether I was a lifeguard at the time or working in a shop. And I said, all right. I'm going to give this a shot. And he kept supporting me. But he always was like, you know, there's other jobs. The post office is hiring. You know, the government's hiring. General Electric's hiring, you know, all that old.
Murray the postman.
Yeah, right? Could you imagine?
I don't see it. Yeah.
So, but I think I got it from him as well because my dad was a musician. He had the skill to be a baseball player. And he could have. And he could have went for it. But he didn't want to go against his father. You know, different rulings, different upbringing. And that was it, you know. So I think I was born in a different era, obviously, and I think I decided to go, well, let's take a risk. Let's do this, you know. And I'm glad I did. You know?
There's more to it, though. Your parents were together 53 years.
Yeah, 54,
Your father has since passed. Is your mother with us?
Yeah, mother's going to be 80 this year, in October. Okay. Dad passed at 83, 4 years ago. But he had a great life, you know. People always say, how would he pass away? At his old age, you know. Had a heart attack. We brought him back. He lasted for 6 more weeks. But his memory was going for about a year or two. But he didn't want to get checked up, because he didn't want to hear Alzheimer's, he didn't want to hear dementia. So he kept writing notes and everything. I told my mom, I said, just let's go with it then. If he hears that he has that, he might spiral quicker to an end. Whereas if he just believes it's old age, then what the heck, you know, at his age, how much can you really correct that now? You know, like it's not like he's 40 with these issues. So when it happened, we thought we were going to lose him, and then they brought him back, and I said, well, I'm going to go up there, and I spent, you know, those few weeks with him back and forth, doing my show here and flying back and forth, and then he passed away peacefully, you know, and the great thing is he didn't need to go to a resting home. He didn't have a stroke where you couldn't recognize him. Yeah. For the day, till his last day, he knew who I was, my mom, and everything. He was just weak, and it was time to go, you know. It's been a good run, you know.
It's part of life.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So my dad's always prepared me for that. And so, yeah, it's sad, but I always think if you make it a day over 75 years old, it's a win. You know, I've lost a lot of friends in their 30s and 40s to cancer and all this. And so I think if you know, if you can make a day past 75, it's a gift. I know once you're there, you're like, oh, wait a minute, I have to make it a lot more. But just as a general statement, I think it's, you know, it's kind of a win if you made it that far, you know.
One thing I've noticed about you is you're a very grounded person. It must speak to your upbringing. It also must speak to the fact that they had 8 miscarriages before you came along, and you were a twin.
Yep.
They lost the other.
That's right.
And in an interview that you did prior to this, you mentioned that put some motivation in you.
Yeah, it does, I think.
A bit of a fire.
Yeah, well, I don't have a brother or sister, right? And I'm my parents' only child, not by choice. They wanted to have more kids, but it's just the way it was, you know? And so for 13 years, they were married 13 years before they had me. You know, some marriages now don't even last 13 days.
Sure.
And so when I arrived, it was a big miracle. And yeah, the twin was lost in the first trimester. And then I made it, and a lot of people think, well, you're a survivor because you made it to the end.
Yeah.
There's 8 miscarriages before you, and I also feel like I need to prove something as well. I want, because there isn't like 2 or 3 other kids my parents had. I want to make sure their kid gets it right. Yeah. You know, it's not a pressure they've ever put on me. It's just my own pressure I put on myself. I want to be successful. I want them to be proud of me, and because they worked so hard to have me. You know, I really want to make them proud because there's not a brother or sister that could be the president of the United States or whatever else. You know, I'm kind of it. So in our household, it was always a dad, a mom, and a child. That was our relationship. So you never had other brothers and sisters to blame things on. If something went wrong, it was me. There's nobody, you can't blame on the goldfish. Sure. You know, so I took the responsibility pretty quickly. And, but it was a great way to be brought up that way. And I also respected where I came from. And my parents always, you know what I mean? Yeah. I wasn't that rebellious because my dad was a lot older than me. He had me when he was 43. Yeah. And it's almost like being indirectly raised by your grandfather in a way. So when he was serious, you listened to him. There was no screwing around. That was it. Same with my mother, you know?
And it's more of an an old school upbringing, I would think.
Yeah, for sure. You know what I mean? And I got rewarded when needed. But my rewards were like if I did good in school, which I was not a good student in school, education-wise. I'm not book smart. I'm street smart. You know, you give me a radio that doesn't work, I'll take it apart and I'll put it back together. I'll make it work. But if you show me instructions there, I can't. I don't. Yeah. It's not the way I work. I work visually. And so, you know, I was a C- student in school. You know, I love mechanics. I love physical, you know, PE, acting, all that stuff. You know what I mean? Anything to do something artistic like that, I could do. But math, science, oh my God, it was such a challenge for me, you know. Sure. But so they were happy even if I just got an 1A in one class. It was nice. So if they wanted to give me a present for something, instead of like getting an Atari or a ColecoVision or whatever was back then, you know, Nintendo, Xbox now, I guess. But my dad would buy me a socket set to fix my bike. To change. So he would still give me a present for doing well, but it would be something that I could actually learn. So now I knew how to repair a bike. I knew how to, you know, and I've repaired bikes for a couple of years in Canada.
He did a lot of things. You know, ballet.
Yeah, 11 years.
You, what was the instrument you played?
Well, I played 3, but the main instrument that's so funny to me is the accordion. Can you? I Ukrainian danced, right?
Your father's Ukrainian.
Yes, and my mother's Scottish. Yeah, and I have both their last names. My mother's maiden name is Murray. Okay. My father's last name is SawChuck, so I got my mother's first name. Okay. My mother's maiden name is my first name, and then my dad, of course, last name is SawChuck. So, I Ukrainian danced for like 11 to 15 years, I guess. Yeah, about 11, 12 years. And I trained ballet. I never danced ballet. And then I danced Ukrainian, which is the big baggy red pants and the big split leaps. And I played accordion. And I thought, man, you know, if I ever want to meet a girl, I got to stop this because this is not looking good for me. Yeah. And then I went into magic, which I don't know if it was any better. But I was just like, wow. You know, when you see somebody playing accordion, you go, you know what, that's a lady killer. So, but that wasn't the reason. I was doing that. I danced. I played also saxophone and keyboard and all that because my parents were great in the sense of anything educational wise, they got me. Anything. If I walked into a store and wanted a toy, never get it. And all of a sudden, maybe 10 months later, for Christmas, I'd get it because they'd remember. Okay. But they wouldn't just buy me things to buy me things or to win over my approval. It was not like that. They're like, is the roof over your head? Rake the leaves when I come home because earn your keep, you know. I never got an allowance growing up, you know, like most kids did. I just, you know.
This work ethic, though, I think works for you. There's not too many people in this town that work harder than you. I'm driving down the 15 freeway the other day and I ended up texting you. I saw you on the side of the road doing something for probably YouTube.
Oh, that's right. Some YouTube thing or something like that. Yeah.
You're always doing something somewhere. Yeah. And I think, I don't know that people can appreciate or know how hard it is, first of all, to get a headlining act in Las Vegas on the Strip, and then to keep it.
Oh.
It's a whole other thing, right?
Yeah. And even just to keep a show in this town where you're breaking even or making money is a massive challenge. When you're not Lady Gaga, you know, and you're not Barbara Streisand or whatever, it's a lot of competition. You know, I can fly to Iowa. I go to Milwaukee this weekend and sell out 2 shows because it's Milwaukee. I'm only there for 1 day, 2 shows, and I fly home.
You have the luxury of promoting it for months.
Of course, yeah, and I'm going to be there. It's something to look forward. There's only a couple other things in that town that's happening that evening, and I'm one of them. But in Vegas, you have 76 shows a night to do, plus the nightclubs, plus the pool parties, and more and more and more. So it's a tough town to. It's like I always tell people, if you want to open up a bank, you want to start your own bank. You know, the Mike Young Bank, you don't want to do it on Wall Street because it's a little packed there. It's a little, you know, aggressive. Go in the middle of Iowa, in the middle of Oklahoma, go to Louisiana, open up a bank, probably do a lot better, you know. But so coming here to have a show and keep it rolling on the Strip, it's probably one of the biggest challenges I've ever had in my life, you know. But I love it, though. Once you're in the game, I love it because I get the game, and it is a game.
And for a magician, is there anywhere else in the world that is a mecca to the degree that Vegas is?
Not for magic. I mean, there's other places like, you know, you look at Myrtle Beach, you know, they have a lot of theaters there.
Sure.
You know, you can go to the West End, you know, but the West End is like our Broadway, so it's a different world. You know, New York's another animal. But for magic, you know, it really is Las Vegas. You know what I mean? So.
And you understand the history of magic, especially as it pertains to Vegas, more than anybody else I'd probably talk to here in town. Maybe Copperfield, who.
Yeah, David knows a lot. Yeah, he's, you know,
You recently visited his collection, right?
Yeah, about a week ago, I got invited, and the collection's unbelievable. You know, he has a passion, and he's obsessive about it, and everything's done right, and also he has the money to do it right. You know, and it's nice that he's taken upon himself to create this, you know, body of work that he can share even long after he's gone, you know, because there's no collection larger than it. And it's really a great collection on why I am where I am today from where it started. And that's pretty cool. I mean, I was talking to somebody recently about, I don't think enough people look at their past to realize why they're here doing this now. Like, I love history, but I like entertainment history. You know, I'm not so big on the Revolution and the Renaissance era, and that's a different type of history. But I love entertainment history. I think it's phenomenal. Why and how somebody got that role. Why did they become iconic? Not this person. You know, why was Ginger Rogers the one everyone talked about? Not the other 2 women that danced with Fred Astaire that were phenomenal just as well. But it was always Ginger. Because, you know, why? What was it? You know. So I'm always, you know, and I think our modern Ginger Rogers. And Fred Astaire is Julia and Derek Huff. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, wonderful.
I don't think there's another better dancing couple that look the part, that literally breathe dance, that are equal in our era. There's a lot of good dancers. You know, Savian Glover, tap dancing, and you know, many people, Prishnikov and all that. But when you look at somebody similar to that style, that has that poise and that gift, you look at those 2 dance, and they're brother and sister, which is amazing. They just have that chemistry and that connection, you know.
And a real passion for it, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, they're from Vegas, they're raised here.
Absolutely,
you know?
So when you look at somebody like Copperfield, his model was very different. He didn't have all the outlets that you have. YouTube, for instance, you have more than 1 million followers now. That's crazy. Incredible. But that wasn't even something available at the time.
No.
What he did was extraordinary, and it opened doors. And
oh, massive. You do a special every year on ABC generally, and he'd have sponsors, and he'd do these amazing illusions. And
almost like phenomenal. What HBO was to stand-up.
Yes, exactly. Way back with all those comedy specials, you know.
Now everybody could have a Netflix special, right?
You know, if you do it right, you know. And, you know, online, we can do anything online, can't we? We have our own shows. My YouTube channel, it's my own network of 1.5 million followers.
But like, that's not easy to achieve either.
No, that's a lot of work. Every week we got to upload something. And some of my videos are great, some are crap. You know, they just are. Because, you know, you think of these ideas and you think they're great, then you do them and you go, well, it's fine. It's good. It's not the best. But when you got to upload stuff every week, it's a chore. You know what I mean? It's like any sitcom. There's certain sitcoms that... episodes of a sitcom that are brilliant, just brilliant, you know, like Seinfeld's Soup Kitchen and all that stuff, right? Which are just become t-shirts and become iconic. There's other ones that just kind of buried under the rug because they got to do, you know, an episode a week, you know, it's a lot of work. So
when you look back at the history of magic in Vegas, what are the highlights to you?
I think the history of Vegas when Liberace, you know, opened at the Riviera, I believe it was 55. He was at the time the highest paid entertainer, but they wanted to bring a headliner. Liberace was just on fire back then. And so he was, I think his contract was $1 million or something, or $500,000. It was
unheard
huge.
Of at that time.
It was ridiculous. It's a big contract now. And so he opened that. And then, of course, Frank Sinatra over at the Sands. And then with magic, you know, a very dear friend of mine who's passed now is a guy named Jack Codell. He was the first magician to ever do a bird act. So if you ever see a magician do handkerchiefs and there's a bird and he's the first magician to ever do an act where the whole act was built with himself and he produced birds. And he opened it at he was the first magician to ever play Las Vegas in 41, I believe, at the El Rancho. And there was only a couple. Remember when the El Rancho was, he was there, the Thunderbird, a couple others. There were only like 5 or 6 casinos up that way. You know, it was all downtown. This is, you know, and the Flamingo came, of course. Sure. So he was the first magician to ever play Vegas, and obviously opened up doors. Siegfried and Roy changed Vegas for magic. You cannot deny that. You know,
probably the most successful show
totally
to ever grace this town.
Even the day they closed down because of the tiger attack, they were selling real hard tickets. There was no Groupon. There was no tickets for the night. There's none of these discounts. If you want to go see Siegfried and Roy, you paid $125 each. And usually had to go to the box office there. There wasn't the internet. You couldn't, you could make a phone call, I guess. You know, maybe you call a box office. I guess you could do that. Put a credit card in. I guess that's what you could do. Or you had to show up at the box office, you know, and they sold out that show weeks in advance, you know. And they changed Vegas to be the glitz and the glamour. And, you know, they'd go in parades with their Rolls Royce and a tiger in the back. I mean, just everything you would think a Las Vegas Hollywood entertainer would do, they did, you know.
The spectacle of it all,
yeah,
the pageantry.
Oh, yeah, the PR and the costumes and the way they looked. And the tigers in that show was unbelievable. If that show were to open up today again without one change in it, it would still be competitive with shows in Vegas today.
I spoke with Rich Little about, you know, they used to have big bands on the stage. You can't do it anymore. No. It doesn't make any sense to have that type of show.
Well, because the gambling paid for the bands. They didn't have to worry about selling a hard ticket. You know, people don't realize Frank Sinatra and Jerry Lewis and Sammy and Dean Martin, their shows were comped. You know, that was a bonus of staying at the hotel. You got a ticket. There very few of those tickets were actually sold. So it's easy to sell a show like that. And of course you brought them to your casino because they paid them a guarantee. So whether there was 2 people in the room or packed, so if this hotel's paying a guarantee, they just want to keep the people in the casino. And then say that they got to see Frank Sinatra at the Sands and then go back in the casino and hopefully gamble, you know. But that whole, you know, that whole theory and style of the Vegas casino equals entertainment right now isn't here anymore.
Well, the revenue shifted. It was the gambling halls that made all the money. Now it's the shows. It's the gourmet
conventions
food.
Is what make the money.
Conventions, obviously.
And it's leasing out the space. You know, these hotels now are becoming Costco. It's just a warehouse, or Walmart. It's just a warehouse where they put, this is Kraft macaroni and cheese section. This is the mayo section. This is where the beef is from this company. You know, this is the Kellogg section. And they basically only make money on what's sold. So there's never a risk to Walmart or Costco. They bring stuff on consignment. They sell it. Everyone makes a piece. If it doesn't sell, it goes back to the people that own the stuff and they got to deal with it. You know what I mean? So
does that dilute us? What does that mean for our future here?
We're just, you know, anyone can have a show if you get the money and time. And you want to rent a room and do it. You know, they call it a 4-wall, which means you rent the 4 walls. 2 walls means you kind of rent the 2 walls, meaning you bring a show for free and then they give you advertising for free and you make money and hopefully split it. But with a 4-wall, you rent the whole room and you try to make a show, make it a go. You know, now if you're Elton John, you can do it like that because you're Elton John. Bruno Mars, you can do that because they have that machine right now. But
yeah, if you have that marquee name, everything gets easier.
Of course, it's different. You could say he's going to do a show downtown at the Smith Center tonight. And put the tickets on sale right now, you sell them out.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm just going to run back a little bit to some earlier topics. So, what's the irony that Michael Bublé and you come from the same hotel?
What are the chances? Yeah, Burnaby, BC, British Columbia. He went to one school, high school. I went to the other. And we'd always do, we weren't best friends hanging out, but we knew of each other because we'd always go into these local talent contests. And he'd always win the vocal category and I'd win the variety because magic, obviously. And we did one of our last shows just before he blew up. And it was like 2002.
His Valentine album?
And he was releasing that, I think, in 2003. And we did a show that fall in Burnaby. And it was like a young person's show. And we were both in it when we were young. And we came back as people that are doing it and making it. I was at the Frontier when I flew back home, so I had my Vegas show. He was in the midst of doing an album with David Foster. So we got to come in the show and going, look, here's proof that these people are doing this show helped them, young entertainers or whatever. And so that was the last, and we have a picture together. It's on my website, but that was our last picture together. And then he just blew right up. You know what I mean? So was Michael J. Fox. He's from Burnaby as well.
Actually, there's a lot of talent from that area.
Crazy, right? And Pamela Anderson, she's from Vancouver Island. And Leslie Nielsen and Martin Short, he's from Toronto, but
maybe the funniest man who's ever lived, Martin Short.
Yeah. And Steve Martin, he's from Canada as well.
Yeah, they have a show. If you haven't seen that, it's terrific.
Yeah, great show, very funny.
Very funny.
Yeah.
How about the Nicolas Cage thing, and then we're done?
Oh yeah, it's funny. It's flying back, and I'm never starstruck. It's just
that was just this week, right?
Yesterday, yeah. So I flew in on a really great airlines jet suite, so it's like semi-private. Yeah. 20 seats, and so I sit down in the front row, and so there's one seat to the left of me, and I have two. So I'm in the aisle seat, and in this seat, there's no choice because you're one seat, and then there's room beside me. So I see a guy reading a script next to me. But it looked like he's homeless. He had a hat, beard, just flip-flops and jeans, glasses on. And I said, well, it's either an actor memorizing a script or it's a producer or director kind of looking, but it's a full script. So, okay, that's interesting. So I was going to make a joke. I was going to lean over and go, hey, producer, director, or actor, I'm glad I didn't do it now. But so I am sitting there and I'm wondering who he is. But then I finally got it out of my system that whoever it is, so be it. And then all of a sudden we land and the plane lands. All of a sudden, we all call people, and he started talking. I went, oh my God, that voice is iconic. I've heard that voice all my life in movies. And I said, I know that voice, but I couldn't get the name right. So we leave the plane. Somehow I got in front of him and I opened the door, and then I held it open for him to walk in. He said, thanks. And as soon as he said thanks, I went, it's Nicolas Cage. So I went up to him and I said, hey, Nicolas, pleased to meet you. Great, honor. Your work's phenomenal, and he said, oh, well, thanks so much. I said, like your work as well. So, and I'm sure he just said that because it's just to be nice.
Well, I don't know. He lives here in town.
But he does live here in town. Yeah, that is one thing. So it was kind of cool. The ironic thing was there was a family coming on the plane, and at a 9-year-old son, they recognized me. And the son was a fan of my YouTube channel. So, oh my God, can we get a picture? Can we get a picture? I said, oh, sure. So I stand up. Literally, this kid is 6 inches beside Nicolas Cage, which I didn't know was Nicolas Cage.
That's gotta feel good.
And I take a picture, and the kid's happy, and the mom is sitting behind me and taps me and goes, hey, just so you know, you made her whole vacation. We're not even in Vegas yet. You made this trip. Like, he cannot believe that he met you. I said, oh, that's sweet. Thanks for watching my stuff. It's really nice. And I'm sitting there, and then I leave, and literally I didn't figure it out until I was in the lobby of the jet suite walking out that it was Nicolas Cage. And I was like, that is so weird. This young boy was 5 inches from a legend, like an A-list actor, whether he's done stuff now or before, he's acted a body of work that he's a legend, he's done some amazing movies,
Absolutely.
And I'm thinking, and he had no idea. And I don't even know if this 9-year-old even knows who Nicolas Cage is, because he hasn't done a lot of movies recently,
Yeah.
And I just thought it was a very funny moment. I'm thinking, I'm just this guy bouncing on YouTube. I've done every reality show in the world, can barely act. And then there's this guy who really can act. He's a Coppola, right? That's his real last name,
Sure.
And I'm thinking, wow, he's like, it's like Hollywood legend, So it was a fun story. It was kind of cool to have that moment. Just one of those moments when I'm 80, if I make it, I can share, what's some of your, and I've worked with a lot of stars, and I've really, and when you work with somebody, you realize we're all the same. One's more popular than the other. But it was fun to have that moment when it wasn't planned. It was just a moment, and there we go.
That's a fun story.
Yeah,
That's
right?
Great.
Yeah.
And you were on Glow recently.
Yeah.
One of my new favorite binge shows.
On Netflix, my girlfriend Danny, she loves Glow. I didn't know anything of it when I got cast for it. I went to the audition. They called me right back. So we love you. Let's do it. Because they were looking for an 80s cheesy magician. I'm like, boom, look at this. This is cheese right here, people. And so I said, sure. So we even shot it in January. And it just aired, obviously, this last week or two.
Yeah.
And it was exciting to do. Like, it was a real set. And I don't act like that a lot. I do YouTube videos.
Yeah.
I've done TV and talk shows like yours all the time. But to be on a real set with 110 people moving things and sets and the cameras.
When you're used to improvising all the time.
Yes.
When you have a written word, you have to commit to memory.
That's right. I had to memorize a script.
Real acting.
And I'm the worst at memorizing scripts because as an actor or a comedian, like an actor reads a script and locks that in. As a comedian, you just figure out your way to get to the punchline.
Yep.
Like, you got to start with, a watermelon and you got to end with a shoelace. Like that's the so but you kind of just figure out your own way. But with a script, and somebody spent their time writing a script, you want to get it right. It's their body of work. And I thought, oh, and then you got to do tricks on top of it.
Right.
Like, it's not like I can just act and sit there with a glass of water, and that's lovely. But I got to act, get the lines right, and then do the damn tricks right, because they got to work, and I got to play to whatever camera's shooting, so I don't blow the trick.
So that 3 minutes worth of taping that I saw was literally a 2 days.
Yeah,
3 days. Yeah.
You know, but it was exciting for me. And then I forget, they do 18, 20 takes. They got to shoot this way. Then they take out this whole wall that has the, you know, it has this view of Las Vegas Strip, and they take the wall out. Literally, like 10 guys all unscrew the wall. It just pops out of the whole set, and all the cameras come this way now, so they can shoot this way.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
Then they move the cameras and put the wall back in, and then they shoot this way. So that's how you get all those shots. And I'm like, it's so great. And so, but I'm so used to doing one takes that when I did the thing, we all did it in one motion, like all 4 tricks. And they were like, well, let's just do one, and then we can bump to another trick. I said, no, I'm loaded. I have everything on me. He said, you really can do this? I said, sure. And then, you know, I'm thinking, man, I hope I can, because the tricks weren't my concern. Yeah. It was the script, because if I don't say stuff, it doesn't trigger all the other actors to act, you know. Yeah. And I've acted a little bit, but I'm not you know. Yeah. So it was exciting for me. You know, I loved it. I loved driving onto the set, you know, it was the LA.
Well, I saw it was fun for me. It was a great scene, I think.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah. It's one of those things where down the road, you know, we have a laugh at, you know, with all of my other stuff I've done on TV. So it was a cool thing for me, you know. So, yeah.
Well, listen, before you get out of here, I saw that you brought some cards. Do you want to do a trick for our audience here?
For you. Sure, why not?
And while you're setting up for that, you were gracious enough to let us offer a 5-pack of tickets to your show.
Yes.
If somebody wants to send in, if you'd like to send in your best magic trick, short video, you can judge it.
Sure.
And the best one, you will...
Best one gets 4 VIP show tickets to my show.
4 VIP tickets
to my show.
To see
Murray
the Magician.
Anytime you can use it within the year. Yeah.
How about that? So if you want to see a show,
the more creative you are, the better. It doesn't have to be brilliant. This is the more creative a magic trick you are, and the funnier it is, I'll probably like it more. I mean, look at me. I look ridiculous. I mean, let's be honest. When you look this ridiculous, you cannot be serious with this look.
I saw a picture with you and Phyllis Diller.
Yes.
And I wondered, did she inspire your hair?
100%. Her and Rod Stewart. When I was a kid, I always wanted to be branded. I looked up to Liberace. I looked up to Fred Astaire. I looked up to Phyllis Diller, you know, and all these different people that had this Red Skelton. You know, they all had Lucille Ball. You know, they all had these. And Lucille Ball, most people don't realize Lucille Ball never had red hair. She colored it, you know, but it was her. Like, that's the look. And I realized, you know, you need that when you're not, you know, famous. As you're hopefully becoming famous, you need to have that brand and that look. Yeah. So people go, you know, the guy with the messy hair and the glass, he does magic. Oh my God, it's Murray. And all of a sudden it starts catching. And now it becomes, they both meet in the middle, hopefully one day. And then all of a sudden that's Murray. You know,
did you see a marked change when you changed your look?
I did. Because I changed it when I was performing at the Lawrence Welk Theater in Escondido. I was doing a Christmas show there with Henry Cuesta and Arthur Duncan, very famous tap dancer, black tap dancer, one of the first black tap dancers on the Lawrence Welk show.
Okay.
Phenomenal. Still a dear friend of mine, still alive and well. And we did the show together, and I was the magician. They just needed a variety category. I was never on the Lawrence Welk show. And I started messing my hair up, but just a little bit, like the Caesar haircut. You know when Batman, was it Batman and Robin? And the guy, was it Chris O'Donnell who played Robin? He kind of had that Caesar haircut, that little, and I thought, oh, I could do that maybe. So I messed up a little bit, like really little bit. And then as the months progressed, I started to get more, and as we did the meet and greet, as people walked out, the old guys, because, you know, it's San Diego, it's the Lawrence Welk, there's a lot of, you know, a lot of seniors who saw the show. I forgot, the old men carry a black comb in the back pocket. It's a very 50s, 60s thing, you know. And they'd walk out, and I must have got offered 4 to 6 times, you want my comb? And I was like, as soon as I heard that, I knew I did the right thing, because they're talking about me.
You got a reaction.
I got a reaction. And I make some joke. I go, you know, I probably need more in the comb, don't I? And I succumbed to it, because they're probably like, oh, the guy's great, but his hair's messy. You know, because, you know, people of an older generation.
It now becomes part of your material.
That's become a thing,
Call back.
Yeah. My opening line when I walk up in my show, if it's an older crowd, I go, you know, I see all of you are looking at me, but I know exactly what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, Phyllis Diller and Dean Martin had a baby. This is it. And always it's a good laugh. You know, and if it's a younger audience, I say Andy Warhol and Lady Gaga. You know, so it's just what it is. So yes, brand. You know, it's a part of branding.
I think it's brilliant. You know, worked for Conan O'Brien.
It did, didn't it? He had the coif and everything. Beautiful. Yeah,
absolutely.
You're right.
All right. So what are we doing here?
So I got a regular deck of cards. I'm gonna have you select a card. You're gonna pick it, and I'm gonna find it. Real original, right?
I've heard this one.
Yeah, right? So I'm going to like this. You say stop whenever you'd like.
Stop.
Right there. You happy with that? Take the card, memorize it. Show the cameras. I'm not going to look at the monitors. I'll look down. And lock that in, memorize. Make sure you know what it is.
I do.
Or put it anywhere in the deck you'd like. Slide that in there.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to put that together, and then you take them and shuffle them. So I don't want you to think that I've put a break in the deck, or I might
keeping an eye on you.
You guys mix them up really well. Give them a good shuffle.
It's the only job you get paid to lie about.
I know. Nice shuffling. Wow.
It's horrible.
Look at you. Huh? Well, the worse
I don't
you
gamble.
do, the better I look. So I appreciate that.
You know, my fiance tells me that all the time.
See? All right. Perfect. Now, here's what we're going to do. Watch it very carefully. Here we go. All right. Watch carefully. 1, 2, 3. Here it is. Did you see that?
No.
No? Watch.
There.
That's it. That's it. That's not it.
That's not it.
No, boy, it'd be great though if I caught it. That'd be so good. Wouldn't that be great? Like, boom, and it's your card?
That wasn't the trick. Okay.
Nope, that would be so good. Well, it's interesting. When I did that, all right, this one fell off as well. We know that. But there was another card that flew in the air. And it was spinning so quickly, you couldn't see it. That's how fast it was going.
I did not see another card.
Well, that's why it was going so fast. And when it flew into the air, it actually went in to your left pocket. Now, wait, before you reach in your left pocket, what was your card?
I'll be very surprised.
Yeah, I'm going to be very surprised as well, but what the hell? It's worth the risk. What was the card you chose?
It was the 10 of clubs. No, it was the king.
You're killing me, Mike. What was your card?
It was the king of clubs.
King clubs. Yes.
Yes.
Good. You're sure? Don't change
your mind? I'm positive. King clubs.
Because they've already seen it on the TV, so they know what you chose.
Yes.
King clubs. The king clubs is actually in your pocket.
Okay,
it actually flew into your pocket.
Oh my God, it really is there.
See? There it is. See? You just couldn't see it spinning so fast, bam, right into your pocket. So there you go.
I am going to have to ask you how you did that later.
That's it. That's
very good. Yeah. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me, man. And you're always a guest on my show. So
appreciate that.
Thank you.
Murray SawChuck.